Welcome back to my lovely HP community and the 5D collective. As we conclude our day of messages with our full moon, let's read that which came through. The wisdom of the heart is not accessed by all minds, only by pure, open, loving minds interpreting it. Now, I also shared with you all how the ghosts of the past, they're no longer haunting you, but that you have been able to transmute them to love and to wisdom and to use an open, loving, vulnerable heart. That's your heart, being yourself. So mastering being yourself because you have a whole self. So you own those child parts, they're uncharged, and you have either earned secure attachment and you're working more with your emotional, mental, and physical intelligence plane. Okay. And you're choosing ventral vagal state. So you are choosing to be open, loving, and vulnerable with the right people, especially if you have simply put reparented, however you word it, okay? And those are all healthy self-worth others who are part of our 5D collective. And so they live life mindfully with self-awareness, accountability, and regulation skills that bring forth love, compassion, and equanimity. So no ill will, we don't hold on to grudge, but instead we're the ones who say hope, kindness, equanimity. Because sometimes it's going to be equanimity. In your ventral vagal state, you're able to be that somatic empath. So even in the presence of an unhealthy, self-soothing human being, you're able to be the healthy one. That means to regulate and to maintain differentiation and to link and to be a person who's in the 5D frequency, enlightenment frequency. It's integration of the brain. Okay, so you're building true love and genuine relationships, even with the ones who have unhealthy self-worth that navigate 3D, 4D states of consciousness, like my facade friend. That's because the people who don't take ownership of all of their fragmented parts, all of their child parts, they don't become a whole self. They maintain those mannerisms of the adaptive child parts, harsh, unforgiving, rigid thinking. They will project their ways of feeling. So powerful emotions will feel like irrefutable facts, and that effective realism is why we have people who say, oh, those therapists are really horrible. They're trying to make all these people not have emotions. So they think that being emotional means only the survival mode. They also ignore people like, let's see, where is she? Lisa Feldman Barrett. The brain is running a model of its body. And so the brain uses past experiences to decipher what it senses. So when you have childhood trauma, your past lives within you. That's why you project it if you don't heal it and take it seriously. And as I was reading too, when we learn to read the body and track its language, that's the somatic narrative. Thank you, Pat Ogden. She says it's the narrative of the body, and the verbal story, she says, is secondary to the somatic narrative, because the body really speaks and can't be deceived by minds. So when you take seriously your childhood, that's why sensory motor, somatics, and or one or the both, working with the body, EMDR, bilateral integration, and child parts, reclaiming all that. So it's once you have reclaimed all of you that you are ready to be consistently increasing physical, mental, emotional intelligence, because you have now a window welcome to all of this, okay? But ignoring it is why when a somatic empath, those of us who are somatic empaths with the 5D mindfulness living in loving ways, mystic or not, I'm going to pick up on your somatic narrative, but I'm going to engage with your verbal story. And that's why my facade friend, as I used that example in our episodes, when we are meeting people who lack the healthy self-worth capacity of being their true self. Okay, so our heart's wisdom knows they're not doing it on purpose, because my body is safe, secure for Maria, for my body. Okay, so my inner child is, she's safe. Anytime somebody say I don't like you, it's okay. I've started when I was a kid learning how to play life differently, because I was, a twin, so we fought cats and dogs. So practicing repairing and practicing being different, and it's okay to be different. I got rejected by boys at 4. You get rejected also as you're growing up by boys, and boys by girls, and then boys and girls, and days, all these new ways that I'm not completely, what's the word, cultured on all the terms. I get lost, but everything, right? Every type of romantic relationship, is what I'm trying to say, as you get older. Okay, but when your heart, body, and mind are safe, and you're safe to be you, is why you don't change. So I haven't changed who I am. And here's where, for better or for worse, sickness and in health, till death do you part, the first marriage is here. For those of us who have the capacity to be our true selves on this lovely planet, it's because we have that ability to shine with a breathtaking I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live, and he loves to love, and he loves to learn, and he loves to not cast stones. And I got to learn that from Jesus about not casting stones, believing without seeing, and knowing when you treat me unkindly, I still have the opportunity to choose how I want to treat you. That's my free will. And I choose integrity, and I choose kindness, and I choose love. So I don't hone in on regret or grudges or hostility, or say, don't believe in humanity, or I don't believe in love. The ones of us who are the 5D frequency, we have the beauty way, and so we don't. Some of us get disrupted, and others of you have claimed that connection, and we are now here together with a higher heart. Okay, so higher hearts, they come together under the beauty way with that angelic frequency, even if you're not a spiritual individual, so you don't relate to Akash in the way that we do. You still relate to it as what? Consciousness, right? Because the quantum physicists, they talk about the sphere of consciousness. They talk about problem consciousness. So you still have a conscience. So the whole self of you, and you having now your inner child adult in the forefront, and therefore shining your beautiful light like we all can together, we now get to illuminate each other's paths. Okay, and that's why we're building relationships of all types. We identify the ones who are the low self-esteem and self-worth and dysregulated, modulated, all that. We allow ourselves to be the healthy boundary person, and it'll recalibrate. And then we obviously are going to grow more relationship depth with the 5D state of consciousness frequency person, because that's the person who knows how to be self-aware, accountable, and regulate, and wants to be emotionally, mentally, and physically intelligent. So the depths of their own experience of life is wanting to be shared with you. And so they do know what true lovers and partners are. We own our sense of self, observe, witness, narrate. We lead with an open heart and no narratives and an open mind. And so when we're in each other's presence, we will love in this very secure attachment, functional adult way. So that's why it is unconditional love, because I will love, accept, and respect who you are, your personality traits, but I will have the condition of you being a healthy, self-soothing, regulating human being. This is why Terry Real says there's conditions. I'm going to say it's a small condition, because it's not going to be you need to change how you talk, how you love, how you don't know. It's going to be something that we consistently do in the room together as we are exchanging. So this is why you always will have love in your life when people commit to it. It's also why your heart is not broken in a way of it being irreplaceable, unrepairable, which is where our contribution to the world is being our true self, which is not for everyone, because not everyone chooses love. Those who choose fear, they choose the shame, blame, fault, revenge way, and like those 7 to 14 charming. So they choose to ignore their somatic narrative completely, to rule with their verbal narrative. You'll notice that they talk shit about everything and everyone with the negativity of them, as we instead will conclude with, let's talk about when you are on a somatic narrative and verbal narrative of love. And so you will have chosen, I get to be me and you get to be you. Okay, so number one, there's no 360s and no like turnaround like my facade friend. Okay, so when somebody doesn't see us and doesn't see what we shared, this is something that has its place. I was a teenager when I first noticed that my teenage friends and I would say, I'm all alone. Nobody understands me. Right? Okay, and I said, that's not true. We're all different. My family is my family. I'm me. Okay, so when you're getting to become an independent, conscious lover, this is how it works. And I organically uncharge my child parts, which is why I get to tell you all about self-empowered, enlightening, mystic life for me. Others will be mindful life, but we will all have the same things to say, which is that we completely have the ease in holding on to hope, kindness, and love. We will reject anger and the what is it called, being afraid to be vulnerable. We will reject the I don't feel safe because if I open up my heart they're going to break it. So we'll, because I'm going to be giving you a bit of hints for next week, we're going to be talking about these, not today, but hope and kindness, they are only harder for the 4D 3D people, the ones who don't live mindfully with self-awareness and love in the forefront, the ones who follow those individuals who tell them that their emotions should be expressed with this, basically. Okay, if we all live that way, well, we don't, luckily, but if we all live that way, definitely no person in my book knows what love is really about. They know what it's like to feel afraid to be vulnerable, and then they know what it's like to have codependent relationships, all that. But bringing it back to our main topic, when you're able to easily be you, you're able to allow that I love to love, and my baby, he loves to laugh, and he loves to live, and he loves to learn, and he loves to expand, and he loves to not cast stones. So number one, we talk, not silence, and not mixed messages. That is completely something I thought any human being, by the time you're 20, you'd figure that one out. Honestly, I have realized how many individuals need to hear the differences of those of us who have healthy self-worth in a way that is fun, and also in a way that says lack of emotional intelligence is boring, uninteresting, undesirable, completely like mind-numbing, to the extent of intellectually, not no, intellectually and emotionally, you're a boring man to me. And you're not somebody I'm going to pursue at all. It's not about your whatever came out of, no, this is actually, I'm just like done. You sound like a little repeat on go. Okay, so when 3D 4D comes in town, you're just going to be like, you just have to laugh because they're buffoons. The personalities, they're all, created in this way of, so in time you learn how to distinguish that, and that's why you like to hang out with the ones who have a swap affair, I think you could say. So when you meet them, you'll know that they choose hope, kindness, and they choose laughter, and they choose to look at the bright sides of life, and they choose to be able to process emotions. So man, woman, they, emotionally intelligent, inclined people are the ones who do the mindfulness and spirituality living and loving that we talk about here. And therefore, they know how to use that open mind and then to continue building. So when we are in the presence of that, you will talk about things. So if there's something that you don't like about each other, you don't use words that are, you're not poly enough, you know that? You're not mono enough. That's teenager talk. It's not unbridled self-expression if you're grown up. That's for the adaptive child people. They continue to have passive-aggressive ways. Now, again, some people are not trying to become more quantumous because they're not interested in it. The ones who are, they're learning how to bring that tone into the room. They're learning how to be that person. They're not telling you how to behave. The ones who are telling others how to behave, they continue to play that role as if they're your mama, your papa, your therapist. These are the codependent types. So they're in a different dynamic than what I'm talking to you about. I'm talking to you about you being a pacha. And a pacha means that you are the one who gets the opportunity to apply the inner growth mindset, to apply being yourself with integrity, and to apply minding your own business about another human being's inner child, and allowing them to make their free will choice of how they want to tend to their self. Do they want to be pacha or do they want to be Cusco? Either case, we got a person who's going to be recalibrated if they do something that doesn't match. Romantically speaking, as I was saying, it won't work out because a person who doesn't know how to be a pacha not going to be able to handle communication. They don't know how to consistently show up, and they don't know how to consistently show up in their ventral vagal state. It's undesirable, uninteresting. It's not evil. It's when I was a teenager, a coward, and that's it. But that coward was a person who I didn't leave them because till death do part, sickness and in health, I'm in a committed relationship. I'm seeing eyes only for him, right? I didn't lose any part of Maria, so I'm using that story so you can understand as a teenager. And when he broke up, I wasn't like, oh my God, I'm lost. A month later, I'm like, yes, so much better. And that's not because I didn't appreciate. No, I appreciated. I knew I found better ways, no, better men who knew how to date and how to treat a person. And then I said, but we were young. It's normal, what, 15, 16 to 18. That's child's play for a person who knows that teenager, yeah, sure, use the word. You're unexperienced, you're immature, you're not making any sound decisions. Your executive decision making functionaries are not fully developed. So to me, and in fact, Italians, they don't call their teenagers, although now they're using these words. But an adolescent is going to be treated as an adolescent, which means you don't know how to be responsible yet. In fact, their brain is completely full of the adolescent essence, this essential spark, which means that and the biochemistry is, going all over the place. And then we got social engagement, wanting to connect. And our social system comes online, so wanting to bond. You're choosing your next alloparenting group, and we're all going to be lacking that self-confidence. Is where I learned I want to be Maria. I learned how to say, okay, I'm going to listen to me at a certain point. Not immediately, but by the third year of being an adolescent, I'm like, yep, unkind, unreliable, coward. I'm choosing me. Jesus told me how to have. God, okay, cool. I know where I'm going. I know how I'm walking. Integrity, forgiveness. It was as easy as can be. And then the teenage boyfriend, again, I knew his personality, accepting him for who he is. He's accepting me for who I am. That's the part. You don't turn your back because you have different ways to communicate or different ways of being. But you talk about things, and which we did. Every time there was a cheating incident, we would talk about it. By the third time, I'm like, okay, now it's getting silly. We're growing up. What do you want to do? And then by the fourth year, we're done. But this is where people who hold on to grudges or the past in a certain way, for example, I already the day after and in general would have stayed friends with my ex at that time. I don't like to use those words, but the ex-boyfriend with the girlfriend who was my friend, a very good friend, and still is now, because I was the one who never held a grudge. To this day, I have considered her. I tip my hat to you. You do great, because she gets what she wants in life. And what she did was not something that I judged negatively. She did what anyone who's in love would do. And the only thing that I said, she could have avoided becoming my friend because she would have had him either way. That was the only thing I had to say. But at the same time, it didn't make me think less of her. No, she's a person. We all are people. This is what it means to have healthy self-worth and to be a human who understands how to love. I love to love, and my baby, for real and not pretend. And the people who don't know how to do it, they don't have to, and they can continue to not. I have in my back pocket, meaning in my past, Jesus and God, but I would have still made the same choice, even had I not had that, because it feels right to know that I'm imperfect and flawed and can make mistakes, and that I won't be holding a stone and saying, you know what, I know perfection. Because that's exactly how people do this shit here, is I know everything, and that irrefutable fact, and then they cast a stone in this very small energy. So for me, when the time came to reach out, because I got clairs going on, stuff's going on, and I did as a mystic, because there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing what I do always. It's called love. And I am very happy I did, thanks to me not being afraid to reach out and to disregard everybody else who didn't support us staying friends. I built my friendship with this woman, and he's a friend too, but it's based on her. She's the friend. If we're ever near each other, I'm having a direct relationship with her. But that's what I already understood their relationship was, basically. I love that she gifted me this thing on this very specific day, which actually, as a mystic, when we have our tier for mystics, I'll share maybe if you're curious, because it's fascinating to actually know of that balance in a way that is practical. But I will never forget, because it was as something was happening, this happened. And so nothing got lost. It was more like, duh, here we go. Chick, you're back. Not that I got backtracked. It was, here's, you keep rolling with the punches. So love is really beautiful. And since we are all brothers and sisters, I mean, it is what it is. And so, yeah, our friendship, it continued to build with her, and we're back to our friendship. And as for him, it's understandable because of their dynamic. So their relationship is definitely one that is more of the standard. So I'm friends with another one of the people that I was with, and people to this day think it's odd. And I'm like, why would they think it's odd? I'm best friends with the wife, and in fact, her and I get together and laugh all the time. It's like, okay, people think it's odd. I don't understand. They don't know what love is, do they? So you will know what love is if you are part of our 5D collective, because you'll be like, yeah, that is really easy. And I believe that that's who's still at our 20-minute mark, because there are those of you who are like that. And I have a lot of the ones who are like, but they don't do it because they're judging it. They just don't live love that way. They live it from their Cusco attitude way. So we leave it alone. And it's a Cusco attitude way because it's completely ridiculous to think that somebody who you have broken up with has to be somebody that you would always be sexually attracted to. Completely untrue. Or that you can't maintain any common interests. Again, we've shared, like with teenage boyfriend, we shared 4 years with her, a whole year, which is why when we became friends again, I'm like, this is awesome. It's like we never left each other. And that's what all of those who are true, genuine relationships will be. And that's exactly where, like I said, 5D inclined people, we hold on to love. And we're kind, meaning we know everybody can make mistakes, so we don't do the grudge. We don't do the I'm hurt now, so I don't trust anyone because my boyfriend in the teenage years lied. What I'm going to share as we conclude is, in fact, when I got the opportunity to love, every time it came around, I've taken it. And I don't look and say, oh, I regret, because your heart cannot be physically broken for those of us who have healthy self-worth and can regulate our nervous system. Because for some people, they go and look it up. Yeah, there is a way your heart can break. Guess what that means? There's a Zen master ruminating. So there's the lack of practicing self-aware, accountable regulating to get yourself to be attuning to yourself, and then allowing that mindset to work for you, to disengage from maladaptive patterns of behavior, which won't help you, venting or being in a complete ruminating cycle. Okay, so there's many ways to disengage from all that is unhealthy ways of using your mind, your thoughts with the body. And that's exactly why there is that free will for those who have been determined. It's called those of us who can explain, share, talk, the good therapist, and the will for them to become healthy self-worth. So when people are that's the people that we're growing together with. And it's really an honor to see the ones who are healing from their childhood trauma. And it's touching, and it's amazing to see them choose love versus staying in hostility, or staying in their unkindness, or staying in their wanting to shame and project that humanity, all of their bitterness, all of their what they felt hopeless about, and in their own homes. And then they want to say that they are wanting to make the world a better place. You're not. You don't care to make children better than what you got to go through, because you're still wanting to use the very same survival mode. That modulated embodiment and that survival mode is something that those children pick up on. So you don't actually know the science behind it, so this is not for you all, but the ones who are supporting the mannerisms, we want it back the way it used to be. We want to be, it's really, again, we don't have to lecture either. So the tone gives away, because I have people that they do similar chit chat, and their tone tells me that they're lecturing someone, and that's not good or bad. Again, it's just you'll hear it because our nervous system is what is ruling that tone. So you meet an equanimous ventral vagal state tone, you're going to know that. You meet a person who's in a Cusco tone, you're going to know that, if your ears can hear the difference. If not, then you can wait and you'll eventually be able to pick it up. That's why when we're with people, the minute that you are coming in and out, you don't have to be speaking or not speaking to me. And I'm going to begin picking up your frazzled, embodied nervous system, which is why I won't be destabilized. I will be confused, maybe, not too much to the extent of not knowing what's going on, and I will not be confused in a way of not trying to address what is going on. And so that's the part of why there's no tragedy with our oversoul, twin flame, or flames, or soulmates for the ones who are mystics in the 5D plane, because that 5D body type tells me that you will have already had the capacity to choose love consistently and no grudges. So you don't look at the masculine or the feminine in your counterpart, whatever it is, or counterparts, as somebody who owes you anything. You don't deal with a breakup in a way of saying they're an evil, Knievel, medieval. In fact, actually, not even close. Teenage boyfriend wasn't evil, Knievel, medieval. Again, all I learned from teenagers was you're all cowards. And then I grew up. It's the same. Because as long as you have those who are Cuscos, they're going to be a coward because they're not listening to their somatic narrative. And their verbal narrative is a mismatch. And so I'll spot the mismatch. But like I also shared, I've learned how to disengage from sharing that, because like my facade friends showed me, they're not going to hear it. They don't even think it's true, and then they're going to project. And whatever it is that I did speak, it fell on deaf ears. In fact, it's like in a relationship, FYI, and this is, if anything, the saddest part for those who know the difference between being yourself and sharing the depths of you, is that you will have completely felt and then realized, you recognize, I'm unseen completely. It's as if this relationship and I never existed. In fact, there's nothing here. There's nothingness. That you process being nothing, and everything that came out of your mouth to a person who was still a caring connection, but they put a mask on you. So to the ones of you who own who you are and yourself, you will know what I'm talking about. But if you do own it, then you also know, oh, I see me. And now I know what mask they put on me. It's a nice little mask. I like my mask. Cool. You also know there is no value in that relationship, though, whatsoever, meaning the romantic ones. Because the romantic ones is where you were building something, but you didn't build anything, because if you have a facade, it's not building. So for me, romantic is one thing. Friendship and that which is us sharing room together is different. Why? Because you don't have to see me for us to exchange when it's going to be time together. But if I'm sharing a home with you, which is where that romantic stuff, so I'm choosing to share an intimate romantic taint, which would make you into one of my secure attachment relationships, okay, I now will know, without my inner world being seen by you, I am not in a safe haven, secure base at all. But really, you're not getting to know me at all, is what I should say. So yeah, this is why nothingness is not good or bad. It's, you realize, for those who are Cuscos, they have a mask. So it's not that you're no thingness, it's that you would have, whatever they tell you are. As for, again, the relationship, you weren't building anything to begin with, because it's all pretend. Because their verbal part, yeah, sure, you speak, blah, 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 smoke and mirrors. And you're like, wow, that was interesting. I thought I saw fireworks. I see that it was a dud. So you just, there's those coaches, they make such a big deal out of all this in a very specific way. So again, securely attached people, we don't make a big deal out of anything. That's why people think we have no emotions. We know how to be sensitive inside here. And then we also know how not to share that. Again, people who will never have... Kylie tells me how it used to be for her as a narcissist. She's healing, though. So now she knows empathy and knows how to create space. But she said when she would see people cry, she didn't have room for her own stuff. So she didn't have room. It was completely something she gave it no space to. And I can imagine how that works. But I can imagine it from a heart that doesn't say, oh my God, that's awful. Because I see my own self, so I don't need you to see me. I'll notice that there's a disconnect, which, simply put, undesirable, uninteresting, definitely not deep. Again, not towards Kylie, anybody who doesn't have their emotional body connected. You can't satisfy anything of what I would want in a relationship. But like I said, it's something you get to learn about as you're building a relationship and you perceive it. The ones who don't perceive it are the ones who aren't owning it. So it's not good or bad, romance is not there to begin with somebody who's not there with their own self and who's lacking self-awareness, accountability, and regulation, which is why it doesn't matter man, woman, or they. If they're unhealthy, you won't be interested in them. And you'll notice that they're unhealthy, and you'll notice it because of the conversations that you'll have and the disconnect that there will be. And that is where, again, you might be, now that I've shared with you a bunch of things, hopefully it supports you to not be disappointed, but to look for that which is your own sensations, so that you can say, okay, I'm going to allow myself to, because you can't snap and done. It's a series of interactions, and at a certain point you'll realize the nothingness that you are, because of the way that the individual will choose to consistently engage and lack of engage with you from the heart. Their heart is closed. They're closing it on purpose. Their silence is by choice, and their lack of regard to talk about the depths of emotion is also going to be clear. Also, not taking responsibility for any of that maladaptive. And I do it this way because really, am I not decent enough to be saluted? I mean, I just find a bunch of buffoons out there, and so when I see another one, I'm not impressed. Actually, again, I'll be impressed when I see the ones who are not buffoons. So I laugh in a way that reminds me of another girlfriend of mine as she laughed. So when we will meet men and women and days who have emotional depth, that's when we're going to know how to be impressed, because they'll be impressive, and they won't be choosing silence of the heart, first of all, of the mind, and of the words, of the speakingness. The ones who do, you leave it alone, and thank goodness they don't text us back, because, there's a man on screen who informs us of what he's thinking, ladies. I won't go down that path like the lady either, because my regular listeners know about it, and I don't want to ruin our message. Again, the wisdom of the heart is not accessed by all minds, only by pure, open, loving minds interpreting it. And we only grow true love with the ones who know what romance is. It's the truth of the death do part, sickness and in health, with a person who cares from their heart and their mind and their amygdala about every emotion that you will ever feel and want to share with them from your own way, as well as thoughts. Oh, and they don't have areas of you that they're going to disown or choose to be thinking of in ways that are going to completely project their past. They're going to be very self-aware about every single one of those emotions that comes up and not wanting to do that. And that's really beautiful, by the way, that when you find people are vulnerable, that's impressive. And those are the relationships that you're like, wow. So this is all of our relationships are beautiful. Romantically, it's when they're consistently, truly romantic, meaning vulnerable, meaning they know how to cry and be angry like grown-ups. Let me repeat, not like Cusco, no, like Pacha. And in fact, yes, conscious lovers, completely different. I need to give him a reason to live. Let him open the door for me, because otherwise he won't have meaning. Me. No. No, that's not. No. He has meaning without me. And you know why? Does anybody know what love is? Love is where I'm going to want you to be able and be happy without me. I don't want you to be in any way, shape, or form suffering without me. Ever. That's love. Which is also the independent, good, healthy love that a parent and parents give you. It's called a safe haven, secure base. I'm going to allow you to know I can be here for you, teaching you self-regulation, or you learn it. Then you're going to know the world isn't safe. But go. Secure base. That's secure attachment. And secure attachment relationships are, I want you to be happy without me. Otherwise, it's called a codependent type of whatever it is. And me giving you meaning isn't going to satisfy me, because I want you to love life on your own, because that's your health in your mind and your heart. And that's integrity. And that's integration. And that's me allowing you to know what your free will is, instead of capturing you and saying, here, let me give you purpose. Let me give you meaning. And again, the lovely sciences, they give it to you in a lot of technical verbiage. I'm giving it to you with a spiritual aspect, because when we're choosing, choice point is because I get to decide how to treat you the minute you start treating me like nothingness. And that is why it's always been an honor when I talk to you all about Jesus and forgiveness and the sciences, because they prove something I didn't need the scientist when I chose what I did all those years. And I don't look back and say that was a horrible relationship, although I know plenty of people judge it. No, I made the conscious choices. I would have married him in church. I would have made him go to church because he's not somebody who would have done the church thing. But I would have been, I want us to be blessed. Luckily, very lucky that we didn't go there. Today, there's no church because I'm not welcomed by all of them, number one. But number two, it's not, yeah, I'd have to see some things first. But also, it's not the church that makes your relationship sacred. It is the human being, and you need to find the ones who made their own relationship sacred. Because again, if you can't wake up and have meaning and be happy to be alive, you didn't make yourself sacred or alive. You don't have purpose. You're unmotivated. You're basically going to be dragging your feet. So while there are those who are all into, supporting each other to do, what is it called, um, this let's give each other meaning. I'm into, you want to know that allowing somebody to become their purpose and their meaning is going to be something that represents like mother and father and anyone who wants to ensure that when they're gone, if they're gone, whatever, that's part of life. You already understand. If you're a 5D collective, you know this. We'll talk about some more, but mindfulness, living and loving and being able to be empowered is this. And this is something that is in my personal, subjective, yes, opinion as a human being and as a mystic. It's what you want to offer people. That Zen master, he doesn't know how to use his secondary consciousness. I do, which is what I'm talking to you about. So I will not ever make anyone dependent on me for them waking up and being happy. I want them to wake up, be happy on their own. And then I'm a bonus. That's good. That's independent love. That's what it means to be a person. And yes, we want to bond. That's part of our mammalian heritage. But again, being able to understand it and then being able to implement it. And that's why we have a herd. Because you will learn this from all of your herd members, not just from romantic goes and not goes and da da da. So again, we'll be back with more. Thank you for stopping by.